listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We have an interesting morning this morning. You wouldn't believe how interesting it actually is. I feel like I'm in the dark because I didn't turn on one of the lights. But anyways, that's for those joining via live stream on Facebook or YouTube for now. But I'll fix that up momentarily. We're just getting everything running. I came in this morning and everything had to be rebooted. Everything had to be password and username and rebooted and you name it. It was a pretty crazy morning. It's a miracle that we actually are not a lot later. Everything wants to update and stuff just because we didn't have the show yesterday and it was the weekend. So I guess all my devices are very slow. But anyways, we're live at CKLU 96.7 FM. CKLU.ca. We're streaming there. We're also live, as I mentioned, on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow. Mainly comment because this is your conversation on your station, CKLU 96.7 FM, each and every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30. But as I mentioned, we were not on air yesterday. I had a trip. I know that it's a volunteer show on a volunteer run station, campus and community radio station. So the expectations shouldn't be super high, but I guess some people expect, like, why aren't you doing a show today? You need to do a show. And some people are there just to be sarcastic and say it's not real news anyways, and just laugh. And so it's a wonderful, great conversation that we have. We have haters, which is great. It means that we've kind of had some degree of success. If you have haters, I don't know why, but anyways, we just try and unpack and try and make sense of the world we live in, whether it's Greater Sudbury or surrounding area or the world, and try and look at the news and ask questions. And that's the way news actually used to be. So people actually don't know what real news is anyways today, because people would just keep asking questions until they got to the bottom of things. But the powers that be these days do not like questions being asked of them. So we got a great show planned for you today. We have Nick Gervais on deck waiting to come on, and we want to welcome her. But first, we're going to start off with a little bit of weather, and maybe I'll turn on some lights here, and we'll come back right after the weather. And then we have Nick Gervais, your comments, news headlines, and we'll try and unpack things as much as we can this morning. So stay tuned. Okay, and your Sudbury weather, as usual, is brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. I just have to maximize my screen. So many things going on this morning. Currently, it is -7, -7, and it feels like -14. Go figure. Very cold compared to what we've been used to this last little bit. Today, it's a mix of sun and cloud, becoming cloudy near noon, and then periods of, yes, snow. And high of -1 today, wind chill -14 this morning, and -3 this afternoon. Tonight, periods of snow ending overnight, then cloudy with a 40% chance of flurries. Risk of freezing drizzle overnight, about 2 millimeters worth, and the temperature will stay steady near -1. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, cloudy, 40% chance of flurries in the morning, risk of freezing drizzle, high of +3. Your UV index, which we're still talking about, I guess, Environment Canada, is 1 or low, just in case you were wondering. Your long range forecast, starting with tomorrow, 40% chance of flurries, high of 3. Thursday, 60% chance of flurries or rain showers, a high of 3. Friday, 30% chance of flurries, high of -6. And then Saturday, looking at a high of -4 and a mix of sun and cloud. And then 30% chance of flurries with a high of -2. And then a 40% chance of flurries on Monday with a high of -4. So the only day that doesn't have any kind of flurries or precipitation forecast would be Saturday. Look at your satellite taken at 5:30 this morning, just a couple hours ago. Lots and lots and lots of clouds with precipitation over the Great Lakes looking like it's making its way towards us, and that's why we're predicting precipitation. That's your Sudbury weather, and it's brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with Nick Gervais, your comments, unpacking the news headlines, local and abroad, right after this. Stay tuned. And as promised, good morning, Nick. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good.
Good. I'm That's all. Hey, good is good, right? So we'll take it.
My house is a disaster. I have a screen here. This is not my house, but you should see what's behind the screen. And that's pretty much what the world is, right? That's social media. It's like, oh, my house looks so nice and clean and it's just beautiful, but it's actually a fake screen.
Oh yeah. No, our world in general like that. It's like that in many ways. It's not what it appears to be, right? You got to look behind the screen, behind the curtain. We
exactly. But it's not like that with the government or anything else.
No. It wouldn't be like that.
No, it's like that for everything. Literally a website. A company builds a website. It creates this type of person of what it looks like, this image, downtown Sudbury keeps talking about downtown Sudbury and making these flyers and these posters about downtown Sudbury. It's just like, then you go to downtown Sudbury and you're like, there's cricket. There's not crickets.
There could be cockroaches. Yeah. There's a couple. It's like that with everything. You remember when you're a kid and the toy commercials come on and it makes
it's a great, amazing toy, and then you get in, it breaks within 5 minutes
or whatever. It doesn't do what the commercial is saying.
Yes.
But today we have many campaigns out there, marketing campaigns that are telling us one thing, but it's a curtain. It's a facade. Yeah. It's a marketing campaign, and it's not all that it's cracked up to be in there. Whoever stands to gain in the toy commercials, it's the toy company that stands to gain by marketing these toys as doing something fantabulous, and you get it and you realize, wait a minute here, I've been had.
And then you find out that the paint that they're using, there's lead in the plastic, there's all this stuff that's happening. Like literally there is a negative spin to almost absolutely everything. Someone is taking advantage of someone. And I would like to know of any big story that they've ever thrown on the news that everyone's heard, if there was never a negative spin, like if they actually did what they were supposed to do. I'd like to know if it was ever a success, if that has ever happened.
What's the question exactly again? Because I think it's a good question. I just want it to be clear for people. And then we'll go through the good mornings. And then I know at the end of that, we'll have some people's comments from your question.
If there was ever like a political movement that politicians or the government was trying to state that something is going to change, they're going to do this big thing, like legalize marijuana, we're going to have tons of money. Well, where's that money? So they never end up doing what they were supposed to do.
So that's one thing right there. You mentioned one.
No, but they didn't do it.
Yeah. No, but
I'm saying like a success. I want a success story.
You want a success, something they said they were going to do and they did.
And then they did it.
You know what? I think I could come up with some because they're
like a big thing, not like a small organization that says we're going to get $10 million.
Yeah.
That wasn't like national news.
Well, it's a good question. So some really great big projects that governments have done in the past, that they marketed that, they were going to change the world, and they actually changed the world in some big way, is what you want to know, right? Some
Yeah.
success story. Okay, cool. So let's see. Who do
Yeah,
we
I want
got?
to know some success stories.
Yeah, so let's if you think of one, it might lead well into our
Let us know.
deep dive today. Maurice is the
Yeah.
first to Facebook today. So good morning, Maurice. Thanks for joining us. And also,
Maryse.
yeah, is that how you pronounce it?
Maryse.
Maryse.
Pignon.
Maryse, not Maurice. So if I say
But
Maurice,
it's okay.
is that an English
It's
way
okay.
of
It's
saying
an
it?
English version of her name.
Maryse. I'll have to work on my French. Monique.
Monique.
Oui,
Monique Dupuis.
Oh, now it's Monique. It's not Monique. Yeah.
Right.
Monique.
Bon matin.
Bon matin. Okay, so Judy, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Jerome, good morning. Y'all, let's talk news. Exactly. We're going to get into that. We got some good stuff to talk about today. The UN just released their report on climate change, and everyone needs to be very, very afraid of what's happening outside your door. And we'll talk about that. So, let's see, big breath, happy face. Marianne, how do you say that in French? Marianne?
Marianne Labelle.
Marianne. Good morning, everyone, from Barry, liked and shared. Denise, morning from Espanola. Blessings, everyone. Thank you. Belinda, good
We
morning.
have 34 people already on watching. That's awesome. Welcome,
Cool.
everybody.
Getting right
Yeah.
around that record mark. Thanks, guys. Invite your friends. It's going to be a great conversation about, just checking in on the state of the world, the state of the country, the state of our city, and what's important to all y'all.
And what they're trying to tell us to be very afraid of. And should we be afraid?
Yeah, you know what? We'll answer that question today. Should you be very afraid of the climate? Is it dangerous? Is it the boogeyman? Will it kill you and your grandchildren and your children's children, which would be your grandchildren? Belinda says, good morning. What we speak becomes the house we live in. And
Seek not greatness, but seek truth, and you will find both.
That's right. Very beautiful. So let's see. She said something else here, and it went right down to that. So I had some glitch come on here. Anyways,
I think when this deception comes to an end, and it will, I think it's to rock the foundation, the core of everybody's belief that, and what their thought was.
So there's
think
going to
this
be
might be-
something big
don't know.
happening. Big happening in some ways.
Well,
It's gonna
something big is happening.
shake the world, and it's true. There'll be two big things. One will be a false thing that everyone's going to get on board with, and then maybe a better one right after. I think a better one. David says, good morning, take care, stay safe. And same to you, David, as usual. Liette, good morning, Sudbury, from Collingwood. So we have Marianne
Cool.
from Barrie, Liette from Collingwood, been on the last couple of shows. Well, Marianne's been with us even longer, I believe. So we have lost the art of respectful dialogue. Agree to disagree without hate and name calling. Yes, for sure. That's what it is. It's name calling. It's yeah. I find, we had a few people on the show who are haters, and I find that if I'm saying something derogatory about something, it's about something they did. So let's say Justin Trudeau. I'm not saying Justin Trudeau is I call him a name. Let's say he's a loser. Let's say if I said Justin Trudeau is a loser, that's calling him a name. But if I said Justin Trudeau's immigration policy isn't really well thought out and it's causing lots of problems, including a housing problem and a financial crisis. And then someone will come back and go, well, you're not real news. Well, and what are you doing saying bad things about someone? Well, no, it's not. And then they'll call someone names back instead of just
Well, they're pointing the finger.
Yeah.
And 3 fingers are pointing at themselves. They are doing the exact same thing that they are pointing people to do. This is the whole left.
That's what I find. I find people more on a left
leaning big group, but most of them,
yeah, I find that too. It's
they're a bunch of Karens, but then, yeah,
Yeah, like they'll accuse others of being
I'm like,
mean and all this stuff, but then you just want to talk about something.
they're the meanest.
And then they'll come back and call you names instead of saying, no, Justin Trudeau's policies are really good because of this. You know what I mean? So, I'm not calling Justin Trudeau a name. I'm saying his policies could be a lot more thought out if he actually was really, doing things for the best for the best intentions for Canada or Canadians. But anyways, I find that it's pretty
Yeah, it is.
rampant.
It's just going to be like that. Leandre Lapointe says we have 10 years left of climate change, and the government needs to tax us into poverty. I'm curious to know what she means by that. Like, why do we have what
the carbon
do
tax?
we have?
So the UN is saying basically we only have a few years left if we don't do something now. Well, the way we're doing it is taxing people. So we'll tax people
Right.
to help to help climate change, but it's only making people poor. So what is it doing for climate change? Does being poor help
Well, yes,
the climate in any way,
exactly.
shape, or form? So
we're trying to save the planet, but we're starving the children.
kind of thing, right? They know that fossil fuels and whatever help countries get out of poverty. Like energy helps them. First of all, it's arguable how bad the fossil fuels are affecting the climate anyways, and what's natural and what's not. And now people are saying the discussion's over. The discussion's over. It's already done. The science is united. Everyone speaks with one voice in science.
Do you guys remember the last time that science was united?
Oh yeah.
And what happened?
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Science should never be united. It's all theories. Science should never be united. And when they're united, there should be a problem because there should always be someone questioning the theory. And it's just interesting. If people just believe what they want to hear, then they go. But if you go and start researching, you'll notice that there is no climate change problem. And here's the thing. If there is a problem, which I know there isn't, their solution is mad. It's madness. It doesn't make any sense.
It's worse than the problem in the first place. If there was,
let's create these batteries from third world countries. Yeah. Little children, use more fossil fuels to make these batteries that are destroying the earth, and our system can't even support it. So it makes zero sense, like no sense. But it's easier to control you if everybody has a smart town, a smart city, a smart vehicle. But no,
we'll unpack.
We never want to do such a thing.
And so if someone's hearing you right now, and again, you didn't spend time explaining what you just said to come to the conclusions that you just did, but we will do that today. Though we do have some material that will kind of back up what you just said from scientists, renowned scientists as well. So anyway, so if you're interested in that, you thought, oh my goodness, Nick just said something that just made my heart almost pound out of my chest because I can't believe.
In a good way or bad way.
Or either way, we'll back up what you said. We'll back up what you said in a newsworthy fashion with credible people that will back that up.
I am just a girl from a small town that has an opinion. That's all I am.
Yeah, but we want to see what brought you to that opinion, and I know
exactly
how you came to that as well, because there's so much information out there. Good morning, Kevin. Valley Crew. Yeah, exactly. From the Valley of Greater
Kevin's
Sudbury.
like, how do you say my name in French? Kevin Frost.
Kevin?
Frost.
Really? That sounds a little German or something.
No, it's not.
Okay. All right. Joking. So having your own perspective and beliefs in seeking the truth is greatly put to the test in these trying times, and that is true. That's from Belinda. Stand tall, be strong, face the ugliness with strength, and we're going to need it. There's 100% true there as well from Denise. We are the consumers. We need to stop feeding the machine our money. Wow, you guys are on a roll here. I think deception comes to an end on It Will Rock Foundation. We already read that comment. You did. Yeah. Jungle Jim says the governments are successful at giving tax dollars
to foreign countries.
That's true.
This is
They do a
true.
good job of that. That was your question you asked earlier. What has a government done in the past that they really touted to be a big thing and it was successful? And there are a
But
few
they
of
don't
them.
tell us that. There wasn't like this big news thing that said, "Oh, we need to save." Well,
Well,
yeah,
there
probably. We
there
need to
kind of
save
was.
Ukraine, and
Yeah.
they gave money to Ukraine. You know what? You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. I'll say.
But what
So
did it
Pam
do?
says,
So we have
right, it just bankrupted Canada.
we have Angie joining us from Virginia. So I want to give a
Hey,
shout out
Angie.
to Angie. How do you say Kevin Frost in French? So you already did that. Okay, there's a lot of comments coming in here. Do you
Yeah.
see any of them saying
Roll up.
you're already kind of going ahead reading some of these? So
Yeah, well, because those were like 5 minutes ago.
well, I know but I'm trying to get through all of them on the screen, at least for those. It's a good way to archive because Facebook takes them off. They say they just want to put relevant comments, so they decide which ones are relevant and stay and which ones don't. So the way I can archive them is actually getting them all up on the screen for the future if I ever wanted to go back to a comment that someone actually said that was profound or whatever. So Trevor, he's sharing a link for everyone, so make sure to check that out.
Pam said an interesting comment. She says, hi, Pam, by the way. I question everything like science, religion, and even reality. I never stop learning because the world never stops teaching. So I saw this video, and it's this guy, and he's just letting you hear. He was a professor in a big room full of like hundreds of students. And he says, type up what you guys hear. And then the majority of what people are hearing would show up on the screen. Everyone heard the same thing. And he's like, oh, so you couldn't see anything. You were just hearing what this crowd of people were chanting.
Okay.
Then he says, okay, I want you guys to do it again. But he wrote words on the screen. Then all of a sudden you heard those words. Then people typed to admit that that's what they heard. Then he changed the words again and again and again. And literally everything you heard was changing into the words that you were seeing. And it's that easy to manipulate people's minds into hearing what you want them to hear.
100%.
Really.
Well, that's marketing in general, right? And
yeah.
And unfortunately, there's so much research on how to manipulate somebody into doing things with things like television or now our phones, so multimedia and whatever goes in, either auditorially, like you said, or visually, or a combination of the two. And there was something that's in the mainstream now called MK Ultra that the CIA were doing many years ago. And it has a Canadian element as well from a hospital in Montreal that participated in this MK Ultra mind control operation. And if all you have to do is look up MK Ultra, it's not a conspiracy theory. It just is what it is. We have secret services that do secret operations. And one of them was how do we brainwash people and how do we control their mind? And a lot of people feel a lot of assassinations are a result of these kind of brainwashing activities, right? Where people are just kind of, they're given a code or something. As soon as they hear this code, they go into a trance and they're taught to just go and kill someone. And then when they're done killing, they come out of the trance. They don't even remember it. They don't even know what happened. So if they know these types of things, could they use these types of things on people on a mass scale, right? Is it possible? Well, the answer is yes, it is possible. Now, are they doing it? Would they do it? Have they done it? These are the questions you want to ask. But you're saying it's possible just from that one exercise they did, right? In front of all these people.
Well, it looks like they brainwashed a lot of people not too long ago. You know what?
Yeah.
Aaron, why are people still testing for the Novid? Like, why are people still testing for COVID? Isn't COVID influenza? Why are we still testing for this? Like, what did we do before COVID? Did COVID just start appearing? Did it just start existing, or did it exist forever, but now we're just naming it something? Why are people testing it?
Well, this form didn't exist forever. It was, it came about in about 2019. It was, as Rand Paul would suggest to Anthony Fauci in a hearing, it was gain of function research.
So we're going to,
so it was its own virus that was created, in a lab. So it is its own thing. It's not just something, another thing.
Right. But what
influenza.
people are getting now, these tests.
Yeah.
So these tests that we're taking can differentiate between COVID and influenza?
No,
I'm
can't. No, it can't.
no. So why are people testing?
The inventor of these PCR test kits, I believe, even said it shouldn't be used for the purpose we're using them for. Again, you can research that yourself. You can be your own fact checker,
Yeah.
which you're supposed to be anyways.
And they said you shouldn't be using this on children either.
The test, you mean?
Like you shouldn't be sticking this up your nose. You just spit on it. Why are people sticking this up their nose? Like
I don't know.
there's a ton of documentation tests there. Like there's carcinogens on the test itself.
I've heard
I
that.
just don't understand. Like people are, yeah.
I haven't been able to substantiate that myself for sure. But yes, I wouldn't stick anything up my nose that far anyways.
Why would it? Yeah, this is a free service that the government's giving me because they're so kind.
And they could be kind, right? We don't know. Is this
No, they're not.
something that they're just not aware of? Or is it on purpose? Is it just because it caught them off guard?
Well, it was pretty convenient how they had all these kits already available for us.
Well, maybe they're just doing some thinking ahead.
It's just
you know what I
common
mean?
sense.
Thinking ahead. So
No.
let's dive right in here. I have
All
have
right.
you ever heard of this podcast called Redacted? It's a husband and wife team. They're both journalists and they have their own kind of alternative media now. And they're talking
Okay.
about this stuff and more. So they bring in all of this into one conversation. So it's basically, but they're able to show a lot more facts. So if someone was listening to our opening conversation just now and they had some problems with it and they're thinking, well, how do you know these things, or this is wrong what you're saying or whatever, I would definitely keep paying attention to this particular video segment because it will back up pretty much everything we've already talked about. So it's a good segue conversation. We'll be back to just kind of wrap up right after this.
Cool.
Meat is going to be much harder to come by in the coming months. The WEF plan to eliminate beef production, remove farmers, is coming to fruition, replacing wheat with bugs. So your flour that you're used to in your cooking ingredients may end up having bugs in it from now on.
All-purpose bugs.
All-purpose bugs. Because, as the World Economic Forum says, they're more sustainable. Bugs more sustainable to put that as flour rather than trying to get wheat, right? Let's use that. Before you say that this is just a conspiracy theory, just visit the WEF's website. Do a cursory search. You don't even have to dive deep like we do. You can just do like surface stuff and do a search for bugs if you like. You'll see tons of articles about the benefits of getting rid of meat and eating bugs, like this one, Burgers, Bugs, and the Shift to a New Way of Eating. You can learn how to do it. This is an article from 2019, and there's more recently. So Klaus Schwab and his merry band of globalists have been laying the groundwork for eliminating meat for over a decade now, and the plan is now coming together. See, they lay the groundwork, they infiltrate all of these cabinets around the world, they put their young World Economic Forum leaders like Justin Trudeau in place, and then they tell them what to do. And that's exactly what's happening.
It kind of, well, and you don't really have to like look far to see it, because like I'm a meat eater, and I just paid $17.99 a pound for meat that I used to get for way less than that, for like a New York strip. But I like to get really good meat. And so what they're going to do is price the meat out of your reach and then come in with this, hey, we've got this really great cheap solution.
Yeah, a meat alternative made with bugs, like some sort of a Beyond Meat product. That's why Bill Gates is so heavily invested in that stuff.
Yeah, and of course they want to do that, but they want to price it out because they don't want to eat bugs. They want you to eat bugs.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know. You get these like celebrities on TV occasionally doing this like, well, I'm going to try bugs, like Nicole Kidman and so forth. And like, yeah, they're really good. They're not bad. They're not eating this stuff. Are you kidding me?
No.
Not at all. So not long after the WEF told us to start eating bugs, the media synced right up with them. It was amazing to watch the cacophony. Get that? Get it? The cacophony of locusts that then came in and immediately started doing the bidding of Klaus Schwab. So they put out the message, eat bugs is okay, and the mainstream media jumps all over it with all of these supportive articles, why eat bugs, an intro to edible insects with Joseph Yoon. Well, he'll walk you through how to do it. Here's The Guardian. If we want to save the planet, the future of food is insects. Here's the BBC. Could grasshoppers really replace beef? Of course they could. Keep going. Just roll through them. Mine aren't loading on my side. So here's Time Magazine. They're healthy. They're sustainable. So why don't humans eat more bugs? Eating insects could cut your environmental impact by more than 80%, says a Finnish study. Finland. Put a pin in that for a second. Forbes magazine. So this morning, Finland is rolling out new bread with 70 crushed crickets in each loaf. They call it a solution to the evils of animal agriculture. Man,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the evils of animal agriculture. Watch this. Finland has made bread with crushed insects. There are 70 dried and ground crickets in each loaf. Crickets make the bread a good source of protein.
Wait. Can we pause this for a second? If we're talking about evil, we're going to kill 70 things instead of one? Does that math work out? Are we not supposed to think that these were living things? Like, it's right to have compassion for all living things, right?
No, because this is the argument that really upsets vegans when you point out to them that, hey, all of your lettuce and all of your greens, when you cleared that entire field and forest, killed all sorts of small animals, including
habitats
mice,
for snakes, mice,
rabbits.
Yeah.
Birds, everything.
Worms.
But don't tell that to them because they get really upset about it. It's an inconvenient
But
truth.
we're supposed to think that like 70 bugs in one bread is a better ethical trade-off than one.
Yeah, but we don't.
cow.
It's not even about ethics
They
in
don't
this.
have brains or feel pain.
Right. So it's not about ethics, right? It's not about the morality of it for this. It's about sustainability. They don't really care about the morality.
Okay, I have more questions about that.
So
but
I think the World
You get like a
Economic
million bugs to one rabbit, right?
Yeah, and the World Economic Forum, I don't think gives a rat's ass about the morality of these animals. What they care about is what they see as the CO2 emissions, the climate impact, the sustainability of which we've debunked here on the show at length.
many times,
but it's worth doing again in this capacity. So let's play. This is Finland's new ad. This is the World Economic Forum boasting what Finland is doing about this bakery, hoping to roll out these insects. In the future, we might all eat a lot more insects. They require much less feed than traditional meats, it says. They also require much less land. And if we replace half the animal products we eat with insects or lab-grown meat, we'd free up an area 70 times the size of the UK. We'd also sustainably reduce emissions. Right. Would you eat a loaf of cricket bread? So there it is, cricket bread.
Okay, so we care about land use now because sustainable energy or reusable energy takes up acres and acres of land, whereas the way we produce our energy now takes up less than 1% of land use, especially in the United States. So
no, what they want is
land bad if it's used for agriculture, which
Yeah.
actually is in a conversation with, the environment. Land good if we put solar panels on it.
I guess, and make cricket bread with it, then it's fine. But also, it's all in a drive to the 15-minute city solution, right? So it's how can we use this land more sustainably by crowding as many people as we possibly can into this zone, and then forcing them to not eat meat or anything like that. And we'll just make sure that all of their food is shipped to them
Jason
locally.
Hins in the
and
chat
also-
says roly-poly stew. That's gross. That's like How to Eat Fried Worms. Remember that novel as a kid?
Yeah.
No.
Was that Judy Bloom?
I don't think it was.
No, but I remember that one.
I don't think so.
But think about they're also, if they move this forward, you get rid of like refrigeration. Like I think the sustainability of it would be much longer too. You wouldn't need a lot of these things to store it. So you could be like going to the shelf. It's like buying rations basically because it's got bugs in it. What's gonna
that's
rot
exactly.
if you dry it out.
That's exactly what they're talking about. So here we go. Glad you provided me a segue. So, of course, there are those that call this a conspiracy theory, and they couldn't be more wrong. I mean, just look at the documents, of course, which show that these countries have already agreed to reduce or eliminate traditional agriculture, the transportation that David was just talking about of the meat, right? The refrigeration, all of that, the meat consumption in order to reach climate goals by 2030. So this is the C40's Cities Initiative. You can read about it, the future of urban consumption in a 1.5 degrees Celsius world. So their goal, of course, is 1.5 degrees Celsius, the reduction of that. You can read it, dive deeply into the argument. You can read through all of it. It's very dense. It's not fun reading, but it is eye-opening because of the things that they're proposing here. It's really, really troubling. And so you can read all about it on the c40.org, whatever, c40 website. But here, I just want to point this out. What science says the benefits of getting there. So if you go down to number 6 here, consumption categories that they're targeting: food, buildings, infrastructure, private transport, aviation, clothing, and reduced car ownership and other forms of transportation. And then broadening the city's efforts to combat climate emissions. So their goal, of course, is zero private vehicles. They don't want you transporting meat. They don't want you to have any meat, and they don't want you to transport it, David.
You know what this reminds me of is like back in the day, I remember when CFLs, they were pushing CFLs. They had all this data. They put out these documents like that. If you buy CFL light bulbs, we're going to reduce everything by this. You got to buy CFLs, got to buy CFLs. Everybody did it. And guess what? It was worse for the environment because you can't dispose of them.
Right.
So it's like they put all this stuff up, and yeah, it's like this is going to be the same damn thing. They have all these solutions, but when you really dig into the solutions, you find that they're bigger problems than they would be if they just left it the hell alone.
And that's exactly what we've been saying, right? The solutions are worse than the problems. Now, I had to kind of stop it there, but he makes a good point about the light bulb situation. Remember? And then we found out that they're full of mercury, these new kind of great light bulbs everyone should get, and you can't recycle them. So it's like now you have this whole problem. It's kind of like the batteries, right? So you think, well, we're going to have millions and millions of batteries. How are we going to dispose of all of them? But then you think, if their plans are really that no one's going to be driving anyways, which is part of this document, they don't want people to drive. So now you're going, wait a minute, that's true. It really doesn't make sense. There's not enough charging stations around for everybody. There's not going to be enough cars and whatever. We won't have the grid that's going to support all of this stuff with their plans for their kind of new kind of energy. But it's not meant to do. It's not meant for everyone to continue their lifestyle that we have now. It's meant to have these more compact cities, and you can't really get around. You don't have a car. You're not allowed to fly. They go on to say in this document, you're only going to be able to make one trip every 3 years or every year or something like that. You can't take a long trip any more than that. Oh, you're muted, I think, Nick. I think I unmuted you on this side. You might have muted yourself. Are you there now?
It's going to be interesting to see when they're going to start rolling this out and how it's going and when, and if we're going to start seeing it right away, or it's going to be a process like these smart cities, in the Sioux, like how, or Hawaii. That's going to be a smart city. All those people are losing their land. That's like a known thing. People aren't getting their land back, and they know it, That's a big fight. So they literally just took their land. So it's just going to be interesting to see. Like, I know a lot of farmers that have Angus beef. Like, what's going to happen there? Will the government call them up and be like, "Hey, we're going to buy your land"? Like, I wonder if I'm going to find out about these conversations. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I don't even think they're going to buy their land. They're just going to say you're not allowed to produce it anymore. That's
True.
What I'm thinking. And they also talk about the social credit. So this is all linked with a cashless society with a social credit score. And if you're eating meat, you're only allowed to eat so much meat because that's part of your carbon footprint. Well, you say, well, what are they going to do? How are they going to know I'm eating meat? Well, they know what you bought at the grocery store. They know because you use your debit card right now. It's all digital. So it'll be the same thing. They'll know you bought a steak. Well, you're only allowed to buy one steak every so often if your carbon footprint isn't over a certain amount. But again, like this is all based on, I would say, junk science, that only certain scientists have been allowed to speak and be allowed to and been paid. Like, it's been set up so that way only scientists who are saying the narrative that big governments or whoever's behind all this, I don't even know.
Yeah.
All the people. There are certain organizations like the C40. That was the first time I heard of them. Apparently Bill Clinton and other elites are a part of, and they usually seem to be elites for some reason. These people that afford private jets and can fly around the world, as many times as they want all the time. they're the ones telling you have to do these things. They're not going to be eating bugs. They're not going to be not
No,
eating
there's
meat.
even a scientist. There's a guy that has this big study, and he says that our gut can't digest the bugs properly, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. And there's a lot of parasites. Bugs have parasites.
I noticed one of the listeners and viewers mentioned that as well. There's parasites in bugs.
Yeah. So you're gonna, and I personally think that all diseases are linked to parasite. And if you haven't done a parasite cleanse, you probably should. And it's interesting that parasites isn't something that doctors are learning in their school. Like if you went there and said, I think I have a parasite, they'll look at you funny,
So it's not part of their kind of curriculum
education.
learning.
No.
Wow.
It's not.
Well, let's just check in with the end of this. I kind of had to fast forward because it's a longer video, but here they talk to a renowned scientist about all this stuff because people are saying, well, it's just your opinion. It's just your opinion, right? So we'll see. No, it's not just our opinion. So I'm not sure exactly where this is going to continue on. So it's going to be in the middle of some discussion, but we'll just check out what they're going to say here. We'll be back right after this.
Innovation. But China can't. But India can't.
No,
we need
Africa
to lecture
can't.
Africa. You cannot have your climate emissions peak in order to raise the prosperity of your people.
Well,
that's only for us.
And that's what Alex Epstein writes about in his book, is that in other words, when these people talk about reducing fossil fuels, aiming towards this 1 degree cooling plan, you're basically telling billions of poor people in these poor nations that they can't use fossil fuels to lift themselves up out of poverty as we have done in the West. So you have to jump right to wind farms, which we've proven don't work for sustainability. It's absurd. In fact, we will be creating our own catastrophe by doing this, pushing people into starvation. It's genocide, quite honestly. And they want a global population decline so that they, of course, get what they want. It's all part of their plan. Has anyone stopped to ask if these net zero goals, eliminating farms and fossil fuels, will result in harm for the planet? Has anyone asked if these emissions from human beings are even responsible for warming? Professor Ian Plimer is Australia's best-known geologist. So see this on your screen here. They had him scheduled to give a speech in I think in the UK, and I think this was in the UK. Forgive me if I'm wrong here. And the hotel that was supposed to host it, they kept getting declined. Everywhere they were going to host his talk on the environment, to set up to give this speech, the hotels kept canceling on him, saying, we can't take him, we can't take him, we can't take him. He's the emeritus professor of earth sciences at the University of Melbourne. He's one of the best-known geologists in Australia. He is the best-known geologist in Australia. He's been canceled many times for asking Australia's government to prove what they're saying, but they can't do it. And they refuse to be able to actually give him the science about it. So here he explains how he's been canceled and how this unfolds. Watch.
Can you please show me that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming? Now, it's a trick question. We'll come to that. They couldn't. This is a question that I've been asking scientists around the world for 25 years. I've asked journalists this question. I've asked politicians this question. It's no wonder I get cancelled, because no one can show from the scientific literature that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming.
So who's behind the C40 initiative? And you might be wondering, of course, a group of globalists, Bill Clinton and Michael Bloomberg. It was founded in 2005, and some of the key players there who've donated lots of money to it and make it happen, part of this larger World Economic Forum plan. And you can go to their website and get your Just Transition Toolkit. So if you're one of these new cities that signed up for this and you want to move everyone away from meat, force them to start eating bugs, get off of their cars, sell their cars, only buy 3 pieces of clothing, you can get your Just Transition Toolkit and teach people how to do it. It's right there on their website. They encourage you to download it so you know how to talk to people in your community about stopping eating meat. And if you're part of the C40 initiative, you can hand that out to people. And of course, you can all learn how to retrofit your buildings. That's a big piece of this document. How to retrofit your buildings, create green jobs. That's in the document as well. And working towards creating these 15-minute cities where you won't need a car, you won't need farms. You'll have everything delivered right to your house in the palm of your hand within 15 minutes. You can walk anywhere in 15 minutes, and that's it. You have to get a credit or some sort of a voucher if you want to travel outside of the 15 minutes to go see grandma who lives in a whole other town. Have you reached your carbon credits cap this month? Sorry, you can't go see grandma. Their entire fear-mongering, of course, hinges on this 1.5 degrees garbage that we've just talked about. So maybe they should listen to, has anyone even asked the question about this? Is the Earth warming is the Earth warming beyond some kind of normal cycle? And is it actually warming at all? Or could it be cooling instead? And this is exactly Dr. Plimer's point that I hope everyone pays attention to. Watch.
We have been cooling down for the last 4,000 years. So if people say, oh, the planet's warming, well, it's all about when you start the measurements. If we look at the last 38 years, there has been no change in temperature. If we look in the last 150 years, we've had 3 warming periods and 3 cooling periods with a total warmth of about 0.6 degrees Celsius. Now, I wonder why it warms. I mean, 1850, what happened then? Oh, yes, that was the end of the Little Ice Age. Do you think it's going to warm or cool after a Little Ice Age? Of course it's going to warm. So if you start taking measurements from 1850 in the Industrial Revolution, we have been warming. If you take measurements from the medieval warming, we've been cooling. We've cooled about 5 degrees since then. If you take measurements from the Roman warming, we've cooled about 5 degrees. So as soon as someone tells you, oh, it's warming, the reply you give is, since when?
I hope everyone pays attention to that. So when anyone says to you,
simple.
I know, when someone ever says to you that we are experiencing warming, there is global warming. Our kids have global anxiety about, climate crisis. Get out there and pick up trash everywhere. Everyone should pick up trash, right? That helps. It helps beautify the neighborhood. Is it helping global warming? No. And is it actually warming? You can ask the question, from when? When is it actually warming? Oh, the medieval period, the Roman period. Just play that clip over and over to people around your Thanksgiving table. Thank you so much for watching this segment here.
So that kind of sums it up. And I think people like that. It's refreshing to hear, people just giving those facts. And why wouldn't we look at the whole history of the world as much as we had the data on that, and he got the data somehow, and that's not the same data we're being told through our media, including this morning on the ride here through the CBC, talking about the UN, report, and that it's all death and, mayhem if we don't tax ourselves to death.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of a book that Bill Gates told everybody to go read, one of his favorite books.
What was
and
that?
It's How to Lie with Data.
Oh, really?
Yeah, How to Lie with Data. And
Not
right
like-
there, like the guy said, if you look in the last 35 years, cool, yeah, we've been warming. But if you look further on, we're actually cooling. So when you don't know the big picture, it's really easy to manipulate people. Or when you just take a piece of the puzzle and tell people, look, this is danger. But really, it's part of the whole cycle. It's part of the whole puzzle. And these people who are telling us that they want us at 15-minute cities, they're taking their jets everywhere. They are not doing anything they should be doing to help the environment. But really, why are we going to take care of the environment when China or India are doing nothing?
It's true.
Literally now, families are going to starve. Families are going to lose their homes. Families are going to lose a lot. But they want that because they want you on a credit system. So they're going to say, oh, you lost your home? Well, you know what? You could stay in your home. We're going to pay you this much money. You're going to do this, but you have to sign up to this system. Blah, 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 blah. This is what they want.
Total dependence
on the government,
on the system, right? Because then if you don't do something they want you to do, they can just kind of delete you or punish you in a way, that's different than the way we're used to. With you break a law, you get charged, you go to court because, it's just right away.
But now you won't be able to even book a hotel.
No. And that's already happening in China. That's already happening in China. So people can't.
Aaron, that will never happen here.
Well, it's the model. I was told by the chair of my program at university that she knew it was the model. Like, come on. She knew it. As a matter of fact, China's the model for Canada, right? That's what she believes, that she wants. And Well, I think a lot of university professors are on the same side of that. That's the model. It's look how nice
Brainwashed.
China's doing. It's very prosperous, people, it's a
Oh
Marxist kind of
yeah.
ideology that they've been indoctrinated with themselves, and they perpetuate it to their students and make them into young activists. And yeah, that's been going on for some time, where they just believe this information. And if you ask them, when has the world been warming from, they'll just get mad, right?
Yeah.
Just test this out on somebody and come back and let us know what's been the response of someone who actually believes that the world's coming to an end because of climate change. And you ask
Right.
them, okay, it's warming. You know it's warming. Yeah, it's warming. Okay, since when? Just ask them, since when has it started warming? And then just watch the expression and see how they can answer. And they'll eventually get mad, because that's what happens in a discussion.
Yep.
People will just get mad. They'll walk away. They'll say, you're one of those. You're a conspiracy theorist. They'll just start calling you names. But why? If you have the knowledge, you can feel comfortable in your shoes. You can back up what you're saying, you know? Yeah. So it's
It
a
is
good
hard.
experiment.
I'll admit that's hard. Sometimes talking to someone that I would, I want to be better. I don't want to call them an idiot, but I think sometimes these people are just idiots. But
Okay.
so, it's hard talking to someone that is just completely brainwashed. And so I'll admit it's hard, even though you feel like you exactly they're mocking you, they're mocking you, but it's just that those are the times where
Yeah.
the truth is being mocked.
But can't you relate? Don't you feel that you've been in a similar situation at some point in your life where you kind of didn't know certain things, but you do now?
Well, yeah,
Like-
no, I mean, but regardless of the situation,
Yeah.
when someone's telling me something that what I'm thinking is wrong,
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable. Or even if
True.
I do know the truth and
Yeah.
someone's telling me, no, you're lying. Like, a lot of people don't believe in God. And to me, that's ignorant. As if what do you believe in? Nothing? So you believe nothing created all of this, but you don't believe in God because you can't see him, touch him, feel him. But you believe that nothing, something that you can't see, you can't touch, created everything. That's pretty godly. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So you're talking to these people who make zero sense. So it gets frustrating. And I agree, like everyone is saying in the comments too, that we need to learn to just like, all right.
Yeah. And it is true. And we need to exercise our conversation muscles, even debate, compassion. That's right. So when we have conversations,
These people are brainwashed. I should feel bad for you. I should feel sad for you that you have been brainwashed. But you might have a chip in your brain that you don't even know about.
But this is the thing. Both sides are thinking that. So a lot of times we're so polarized in our society where the other side is thinking, no, you're brainwashed. And you're thinking in your head, no, you're So we're both thinking each other are brainwashed. We're both coming at the conversation trying to, thinking, well, how are they going to not be brainwashed? So it's we live in a very, very, very interesting time. I would say probably the similarest time I could think of, the most similar time would be probably Germany in the early 1930s until the 40s. I would think that's probably the most similar time to what we're living in now, where there's these beliefs that are going out there through mass media.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of people affected by it and buying into what's being said and not critically thinking. And then the other side thinking, well, how could you think what you're thinking? Where are you getting this information from? You're getting it from the dark corners of conspiracy land or something, rather than, no, you just do your own thinking. You think for yourself, you have the tools to do. So, but that's all the time we have, Nick. We got to leave it there, unfortunately.
All right.
So the next time we're going to see you on this show will be about when? Just for
Tuesday, Wednesday.
So the following Wednesday, next week.
Yeah.
Because we do have a lot of people that love to see you on the show, as I do.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so we just want to let them know. So thank you so much for this great conversation today, Nick. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And all the
Thanks
people
for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, all the people who commented as well. We really appreciate you. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. We'll be back same time, God willing, tomorrow. Take care. Stay safe. Ciao.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.